So we're going to have a quick chat about episodes 5 and 6 of Star Trek Lower Decks Season 2. Episode 5 was called An Embarrasment of Dooplers. Doopler is a species, and I think Doopler is probably for duplicate, because when they get embarrassed, they duplicate. So it's kind of like a Tribbles episode in a lot of ways. And what they're doing is they're transporting a Doopler to the starbase. And at this starbase, there's going to be a big party. And Boimler and Mariner want to go to the party. So the gimmick is Boimler's going to pretend to be Will Boimler from the Titan, because you have to be in an upper echelon ship to be invited to this thing.
Right. I actually did think that this episode was a lot better than past episodes in Star Trek Lower Decks. And it did remind me of Trouble with Tribbles, which I think was actually, if not the first, one of the first original Star Trek episodes that I ever watched. And I don't think this is as cute, definitely, or as funny as that one, but I did like it.
I like Tribbles better. I thought this was funny because Richard Kind voices the Dooplers here, and I thought that was he's good. I like his voice talents. I thought it was a clever little gimmick. There were some Easter eggs here. I like the Boimler-Mariner dynamic that's going on. They go down to the starbase and they really get to explore the starbase. So we see how big it is. There's even a chase, like a car chase in it. It's pretty funny. At one point they're transporting Bubble Bath in the form of Data. Some of them are lures, which I thought was funny. And actually there's hidden weapons inside the case because Mariner used to be stationed on this starbase, so she knows some of the merchants, and so they were setting her up to do this. So I thought that was kind of clever, but there's a big subplot in there about Mariner abandoning Boimler, or Boimler abandoning Mariner for the Titan. So they kind of get in an argument about that. At one point, Boimler gets into the party, but Mariner doesn't. So she winds up at this bar, and then he cuts out of the party to go hang out with her. And you can see how strong their friendship is.
Right. I actually think that this is one of the first Star Trek Lower Decks episodes where I did like both plots of the story, because I think a lot of the times I don't like both of the plots because they're both Lower Decks. It's usually Tendi and Rutherford and Mariner and Boimler, which I feel like I get sick of. This time, though, it was the captain and her crew and Lower Decks.
Yes, because eventually Captain Freeman goes down and she can't get into the party either because the Cerritos isn't high enough in the pecking order of ships. So they wind up at the same bar. And it turns out that Kirk and Spock had been at that bar way back when. The bartender's kind of cool. I also noticed, I didn't hear it mentioned in any of the other videos that I watched, but on the shelf behind the bar was what looked like a duplicate of Zefram Cochrane's ship, the Phoenix, from Star Trek First Contact. And it looked like it was being used as sort of a drink dispenser of some sort, or maybe it was just a model, but it was there, and I thought that was kind of clever. There is a little bit of a Tendi Rutherford subplot here, because they're building a model together, and they wind up, getting involved with the Doopler situation.
Right.
But I actually thought the episode was entertaining and fun. Now, the next episode is called The Spy Humongous, which is like a takeoff on The Spy Among Us, but it's humongous because it's a Pakled. So the Cerritos has been dispatched to the Pakled planet. Captain Freeman is negotiating peace. Meanwhile, there's other things going on which are quite funny, because Boimler and Mariner get into different situations here. Mariner, Tendi, and Rutherford are collecting garbage that the higher ranking officers bring back from away missions. And a lot of this is stuff that gets them into trouble, basically. Boimler is supposed to go on that mission, but he winds up with the Red Shirts. And the Red Shirts is this group of lower deck officers who are striving to become captains. So he kind of gets a captain makeover here. He gets to do a Riker speech at one point, which I thought was kind of entertaining. A lot of shout outs to Riker in both the last episode and this one, as a matter of fact. And then Tendi's, her typical optimistic self, but eventually that collection of the garbage stuff gets to her, and she turns into some kind of
a bug of some sort.
But Boimler eventually brings her back from that.
Right. I didn't like this one as much as the last episode, because especially with Mariner, Tendi, and Rutherford, they were getting into kind of disgusting stuff, especially with the bugs and stuff, and I didn't like it. It reminded me of how SpongeBob gets in, with Patrick mainly, gets into a lot of gross stuff. So it reminded me of that. I don't know why, but it was an okay episode.
What was funny here was Mariner's reaction to all these things. She was just getting so exasperated with the situation. Also, Ransom and the other officer that came on board to be the new security officer, they're trying to deal with this Pakled spy that's on board. And there's a pretty funny scenario that happens there. There's also a Kzinti character, which is one of the red shirts. There's a lot of Easter eggs here. This one was fun. I thought the previous episode was more fun. But I think the idea behind these are you watch them for enjoyment. You watch them as a celebration of the next-gen Voyager Deep Space Nine era of Star Trek. The people who are making these are obviously very knowledgeable about Star Trek, and they cleverly work in these Easter eggs. And I think for the most part, the plots have come up a little bit in caliber as far as the humor not being so sophomoric. I really wasn't crazy about when, Tendi turned into the scorpion or whatever it was that she turned into. That was a little over the top for me. But Boimler having to kind of abandon the red shirts and bring her back by making, kind of playing court jester and making her laugh, and that brought her back, and that kind of brings the episode full circle to the beginning. That kind of worked, so I kind of got it.
I think other than Mariner, Tendi, and Rutherford's story with all the garbage, I think that this episode would have been fun. And I think it was fun, except for that part, because I found it funny that the Packlet wasn't too bright, and I don't know, I just liked it. And I also liked how the captain was down with the other Packlets, and somehow this one got up. I just found it
The
fun.
away mission was funny with Captain Freeman because the Packlets keep calling her Janeway because they think she's Janeway, which I thought was clever. And she's trying to negotiate peace, but she has to do it with the Packlet who wears the biggest helmet. So there's a king, then there's a queen, then there's an emperor. It was clever. It's what you would expect out of a Packlet planet. Again, at the end of the day, these are entertaining, they're fun. They would be more fun for me if they had existed when those other shows were on the air. Because right now, this is the closest thing to the Star Trek that I enjoy. So the fact that it makes fun of it sometimes is disappointing because I want it to be Star Trek, but it is entertaining. Discovery's a little too dark for me. I'm not criticizing it for me, my taste, it's just too dark. This is light and fun. It would have been more fun if it was on at the same time as Next Generation, Voyager, and Deep Space Nine were on the air. But it is a lot of fun to watch the Easter eggs. For me, I guess I'll say 1 for free to 1 to see.
For me, for this episode, I think it's 1 for free. For episode 5, I would say it's 1 to see, actually.
Fair enough. We'll see what happens. We're almost done here. We got about 4 episodes for the rest of the season. We'll see what they choose to do with it. Maybe Riker will get another appearance. I hope so. Because they talk about him an awful lot. I feel like Boimler and Boimler's clone are going to get brought back together somehow toward the end of this season. That's my feeling. We'll see what happens. See what I did there?
Oh, Daddy.